A man in an expensive suit stood at the edge of a bridge, staring at the dark water below. The city lights danced on its surface, mocking his pain. Nobody knew the billionaire's secret, that he was ready to end it all. But just as he loosened his tie and took a deep breath, a small voice called out, trembling but brave. "Mister, are you okay?" He turned. Standing a few feet away was a little girl, no older than 8, wearing a faded yellow raincoat and clutching a paper bag that was clearly too heavy for her. Her shoes were soaked, her hair stuck to her face from the rain, but her eyes, those innocent, wide eyes, looked straight through him. He didn't know it then, but that little girl was about to change his entire life. The man, whose name was Daniel Price, was one of the wealthiest men in the country. To the world, he had everything: a billion-dollar company, a mansion on the hill, cars that cost more than houses, and the kind of fame most people only dream of. But Daniel had lost something far more precious: his reason to live. His wife had left him. His only son hadn't spoken to him in years. Every smile in his photos was rehearsed. Every handshake felt hollow. Money couldn't buy peace, and the silence in his house grew louder every night. So that night, when he walked to the bridge, he didn't plan to come back. But the little girl changed everything. She walked closer, her small voice breaking the rain. "You shouldn't be here. It's dangerous." He forced a smile. "You shouldn't be here either." She lifted her bag a little. "I'm taking dinner for my mom. She's sick, and we don't have food at home." But the man at the diner said I could help him clean tables for soup and bread. Daniel froze. Soup and bread? That was her reward for working at her age? He looked down at her tiny hands, red from the cold, and something in his heart cracked open. He asked softly, "What's your name?" "Lila," she said. "And you look sad. My mom says when people are sad, they should talk to someone. You can talk to me if you want." Her words hit him harder than any business failure or betrayal ever had. Talk to her? A child who had nothing was offering comfort to a man who had everything. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something unfamiliar: shame and hope. He sighed, sitting down on the cold concrete, and she sat beside him as if they were old friends. They talked for a while, about her school, her sick mother, her love for drawing butterflies. Daniel found himself laughing quietly, forgetting for a moment why he was even there. When she finally stood up to leave, she handed him the bag. "Here," she said. "You can have some of my bread. You look like you need it more." Before he could reply, she ran off into the rain. That night, Daniel sat in his car for hours, staring at the bread she left behind. He didn't jump. He didn't even cry. But deep inside, he knew he had to find that girl again. Days turned into weeks. Daniel hired people, checked diner records, even visited shelters. But no one knew where Lila lived. Finally, one rainy afternoon, he found the same diner she'd mentioned. An old waiter recognized her name. "Little Lila? She hasn't been around. Her mom got real sick. Think they moved to the edge of town." Daniel didn't hesitate. He drove for hours, through narrow streets and broken neighborhoods, until he found a small building that barely stood upright. The windows were cracked, the door half broken, and when he knocked, a frail voice answered, "Come in." Inside, a woman lay on a worn-out couch, coughing weakly. And there, kneeling beside her, was Lila, trying to cool a wet cloth on her mother's forehead. When she saw Daniel, her eyes widened in shock. "You," she gasped. "You're the man from the bridge." He knelt down beside her. "You saved my life that night, Lila?" The woman looked up, confused. "Saved your life?" He nodded, then smiled faintly. "Your daughter reminded me that there's still good in this world. She gave me hope when I'd lost everything." They talked for hours, and Daniel learned everything: their struggles, the hospital bills, the eviction notices, the endless cycle of bad luck. He listened, not as a billionaire, but as a broken man who finally understood what it meant to lose everything that mattered. That night, he made a promise. He helped Lila's mother get the treatment she needed. He enrolled Lila in the best school in the city, bought them a small house, and made sure they never had to worry again. But he didn't stop there. Daniel started a foundation, the Lila Hope Fund, to help single mothers and poor children find shelter, education, and care. Every time he gave a speech, he told the same story. "A little girl saved my life when I was ready to throw it away." Years passed. Lila grew up, strong and bright, unaware of how many lives her kindness had touched. On her 18th birthday, Daniel invited her to the grand opening of a new children's hospital, built entirely in her name. When she saw her name on the sign, tears filled her eyes. "Why me?" she whispered. Daniel smiled. because you reminded me that even the smallest act of kindness can save someone's life. You didn't just save me that night, Lila, you gave me a reason to live again. As they stood there, the crowd applauding, Daniel realized something powerful. True wealth isn't measured by what we own, but by the lives we touch, and in the end, it wasn't the billionaire who saved the little girl. It was the little girl who saved the world of a billionaire, because sometimes one act of kindness is enough to rewrite an entire life. Would you like me to expand this story further? Add emotional dialogues and pacing that fits a 100-minute YouTube storytelling. Script with voiceover cues and scene transitions.